Republican lawmakers are expressing their support for Ukraine while condemning the actions of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
For some, it's a rare step away from former President Trump, who called the Russian leader savvy and smart in the early days of the invasion. But Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said that the vast majority of the Republican Party is, quote, totally behind the Ukrainians, and Republican voters seem to agree. CBS News polling shows that 75% approve of sending weapons and supplies to Ukraine.
Our Washington reporter, Caitlin Huey-Burns, recently published an article on CBSNews.com about the GOP's shift away from Trump in regards to Ukraine. She joins us now to talk more about this. Hi, Caitlin. Great to see you. So give us an indication of how the GOP's language is evolving about the situation in Ukraine, because the talking points have shifted a little bit from the early days.
Hi, Tanya. Well, that's exactly right. It's really interesting to hear how the Republicans are talking about Russia and Ukraine. Remember, for the past several years, they have been following Donald Trump's lead when it comes to pretty much everything and kind of moving, as he moved the party away from traditional party philosophy. But what I've been finding talking to lawmakers on Capitol Hill is that they're no longer taking their cues from Donald Trump. This is really interesting because they are really stressing a hard line against Russia. They're trying to push the Biden administration to send even more weapons to Ukraine, those that the Biden administration says, they don't want to send those fighter jets. And so they've been trying to, draw this hard line here. But this is notable because for the last few years, Republicans have largely stood by as the former president questioned the value of NATO and global security alliances. We know, of course, that impeachment trial when that centered on his phone call with Zelensky, threatening to withhold aid to Ukraine in exchange for a political favor, and also the ways in which he kind of cozied up to Putin. Remember that meeting in Helsinki where he took Putin's word over that of his own intelligence officials. So you had this really, that kind of dynamic with the GOP and Trump. And now on Capitol Hill, I'm finding that lawmakers are really just not ceding to him because they know it's a political liability. And they know, as you mentioned in that polling, there's support among the Republican rank and file for a lot of the tough stances against Russia.
But, Caitlin, former President Trump himself has revised some of his early comments about Ukraine and about Putin, has he not? I remember when he said that Putin was smart and savvy, but more recently I was reading he said that he was surprised by the invasion and thought that Putin had changed. Do I have that right?
That's right. He said that in an interview, I believe, with the Washington Examiner. And that was also significant because seems to be this realization of where things are at the moment. I was talking to one foreign policy expert who had written a book on Republicans and foreign policy in the post-World War II, and he was saying that this has been a really interesting moment because it's usually the situation where Trump reacts and Republicans have to react to him and kind of follow in that line. Here is a situation that he described where the former president has really been kind of behind, that he's had some catching up to do in terms of where public sentiment is on this and where the base of the party is on this. So it is an evolution, and it's also becoming a political liability for some candidates on the campaign trail. An interesting race to look at is in North Carolina, the Republican primary there for an open U.S. Senate seat. You have an ad war going on between the kind of establishment candidate, the former governor, and a Trump-backed candidate over, who is calling Putin evil and a thug. And so that's kind of interesting to see how this is going from Capitol Hill onto the campaign trail as well.
So, Caitlin, bringing up the campaign trail, of course, all eyes are looking ahead to the midterms. So how big a role will foreign policy surrounding this conflict in Ukraine play into this year's midterms?
Foreign policy isn't usually a big mover in elections, especially midterm elections. They're typically a referendum on the party in power. But this situation is a little bit different at this point. First, you do have kind of a rallying effect around the steps that the administration has taken in terms of sanctions and other measures, although the president's approval rating, while it's ticked up, is still pretty low. But what's interesting here is that foreign policy could also become an economic issue issue in the midterms. And that's where this could really play out. You're seeing Republicans craft arguments around the impact this is going to have, this is having on hikes here at home. You see broad bipartisan support for paying a little more for gas if it means helping Ukraine. We'll see how long that lasts. The Democrats, of course, are trying to say that this is Putin's fault. We'll see, though, if these hikes continue through the summer, what the American appetite is for it. But right now, we've seen, I've talked to Democrats and Republicans who say their constituents want the U.S. to do as much as they can, even more, to help the Ukrainians.
Yeah, and of course, you've got Republicans casting President Biden as weak in the face of Putin, and Putin taking strides because of that, while Democrats say, no, he's the one who brought this coalition of strength, NATO together,
yeah.
consolidated
a new day for NATO, apparently,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah. Caitlin, thank you very much.
Thank you.